Yep. Just to clarify, you're saying that the law of attraction operates on the condition of the soul. So when children are exposed to negative things, there is an injury within their soul.
There is.
Yep. And
but unfortunately, the other thing we must admit is that they inherited this injury from their parents' soul. And it was transmitted to them as soon as they entered the world through conception. So therefore, who's to blame or who is responsible for this injury? Not the child. Do you understand the difference? See, we've got to be very careful that we assign the responsibility to where it was created. And the responsibility of what's happening to the child rests with the environment and the parent, not with the child. Yep.
Second, if we go back to Africa, those people who are suffering in a lot of poverty, they do have a condition within their soul that is attracting that.
Certainly.
However, what I feel is that we have a condition in our soul that's is allowing it.
That's right.
That is actually worse.
It's actually worse, yes.
Yeah.
So let's look at the situation of any poverty, for example, in terms of who is to blame or who is responsible and what the cause is. The reality is that there are many nations on the planet who, as a collective nation, their collective condition, so if we call it their collective soul condition, is that they attract rape of resources. Sources by more wealthy countries. Is that not true? Obviously, if they had enough resources to look after themselves and they had excess, then it'd be fine. But if they don't have enough resources to look after themselves and all the excess is going somewhere else, then obviously it's a rape, right? It's a rape of all the resources, yeah? The collective soul condition of those countries are they attract the rape of resources for some reason. We've got to look, that's the thing they need to look at as to why they attract it. But who has the worst condition? A person who rapes, even if it's resources, or the person who receives the rape of the resources? Who's got the worst condition? The person who does this, is it not? So the collective soul condition, the collective condition of the Western countries that finish up raping the resources of the other countries and not sharing those resources that they have, means that the collective condition of the Western countries is actually worse from a love perspective than the condition of the countries that are being raped. Does everyone get that? From a love perspective? Okay, if we bear that in mind then and we look at the event that would be attracted, the law of attraction happens where a certain country gets raped of its resources, which then causes malnutrition and other problems inside of the country for many of its inhabitants. There's got to be an emotion inside of them that caused this country to attack this country in this way, right? That attracted it happening to this country. But the reality is this country was willing to rape any country. So therefore its condition was pretty bad before it even begun. And then the fact that it went ahead with the rape of the resource means that it is even becoming worse as a collective condition. The fact that this country is willing to engage in the rape, right, of the resource means that its collective condition must be worse. And it's like the thief we were talking about. It's willing, it already has a feeling inside of it that it's able to thieve. It's just who does it thieve? Does it go and thieve from... So you look at the USA coming to thieve something, and I'll choose the USA because many of people do think that they do thieve things, and I'm not saying that the USA should be singled out with that particular thing, because many Western countries are the same. But let's say it decides to go to war in a country like it did do in Iraq, right? Now, if it couldn't choose Iraq because Iraq happened to be Sweden and it would never have gotten away with coming and raping Sweden's resources for a lot of reasons, what did it do? It chose a country that the rest of the countries would sit by and let it be raped. Can you see that? Because if the US chose you and your country to be raped of its resources, what do you think would have happened then? You would have had the whole European Union ready to go to war with America, wouldn't you? If that had probably happened. All right? But the fact is that when Iraq gets raped, the whole European Union is not willing to go to war with America. Can you see the difference? So can you see how that was a part of the choice? The fact is that it couldn't make the choice to rape a country that had the power to defend itself. So what it did instead was made the choice to rape a country that couldn't defend itself. Can you see that? Yep. And in the process of doing that, America demonstrates its own condition. And interestingly enough, the rest of the world demonstrated their own condition. We were all willing to sit by and watch the rape. And in Australia's case, we were not only willing to sit by and watch it, we were willing to sit by and take part in it. Does that make sense? So what's happening, and I'm being quite strong with my language here now, the reason why is we need to understand that actually the person who does the damage to the other is obviously already in a darker condition. This is why many of you are not having much success with your mums and dads in terms of getting them to admit that they did something wrong with you. Because the person who does something wrong with you is generally in a darker condition than you were at the time it was done wrong. Do you understand? Just like this country is in a darker condition than this country when it chose to rape the country. The rest of the world was in a darker condition than this country because it allowed the rape of the country. You see? These are all things that are happening. So I'll just fix up the mic. These are all things that are happening because the law of attraction is demonstrating to every one of those countries there's something going wrong here with love. So this country obviously has an issue of loving itself. This country here has an even worse issue. It's unable to love others. And it's arrogant and loves itself too much, I suppose you could say. Is there such a thing as loving itself too much? No. So it has to be that its attitude is not one of love even towards itself, but one of greed. It has to exist. Now these things are demonstrating, this is the beauty of it, is that it's all demonstrating God's truth to us as an entire world. This event is showing us that what is actually happening is out of harmony with love in these events. And it's out of harmony with love in a lot of areas. This country here needs to be helped with its love of self. This country here needs to be helped with its arrogance and its attitude that it can go ahead and rape somebody else without and get away with it. And that means that the people in that country need to be helped with that attitude. And it means the people in this country need to be helped with that attitude because it's a collective condition, which is an adding up of all the different people's condition in that location. Can you see? So it's quite an involved process when you look at the law of attraction. So Corolla, what's next?